All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're heading to the Indian state of Bihar to unpack a really mind-bending climate paradox. So here's the big question, the one that got us started on this whole thing. How can a single place be drowning and yet at the exact same time be desperate for water? It sounds completely contradictory, but for millions of people in Bihar, it's the harsh reality they live with every year. And this slide, well, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? Bihar is literally a state cut in two. Up north, you have districts that are just overwhelmed by massive rivers pouring down from the Himalayas. At the same time, you go south and they're dealing with crippling droughts and a serious lack of water. It's a true climatic double whammy. Okay, so let's get into what's being called Bihar's hydroclimatic paradox. Basically, we're talking about one region battling two opposite crises: too much water and not enough water. And to really get what's going on, you have to see the numbers, because they are just staggering. Get this, 73%. That's how much of Bihar's land is at risk of flooding. Let that sink in. We're talking about one of the highest rates in all of India. This isn't some rare freak event. For most people there, it's a constant, year after year threat. This map really helps you visualize the problem. See up north? Those districts are right in the firing line of rivers like the Kosi and Gandak pouring down from the Himalayas. They get the deluge. But then you look down south, and it's a completely different story. Scanty rain, dropping groundwater, bone dry. All right, so we've covered the what and the where. Now let's dig into the why. What's actually causing this crazy cycle of flood and drought? And what's the real cost for the people living through it? Well, it's really a perfect storm of problems. You've got the heavy monsoon rains, of course, but that's just the start. The rivers themselves are choked with silt, so they just can't hold as much water anymore. Then you have these old, weak embankments that just give way. On top of all that, deforestation and, the big one, climate change, making the monsoons totally unpredictable. And this is where things get really ironic and, frankly, tragic. For decades, the solution was, let's just build bigger walls. But here's the catch, the embankment paradox. By walling in the rivers, they've trapped all that silt. The riverbeds have actually risen, in some places higher than the land around them. So now, when those walls do break, the flooding is even more catastrophic. And the cost? It is just immense. We're talking about 8,000 crore rupees. That's almost $1 billion lost every single year just from agriculture. In a place where more than 70% of people are farmers, that is an absolutely devastating blow year in, year out. But, and this is important, the story isn't just about disaster. Something is changing in Bihar. There's a huge shift happening from just reacting to crises to actually building a proactive culture of resilience. And the heart of this new game plan is something called climate resilient agriculture, or CRA. The idea here isn't just to survive. It's to fundamentally change farming so that it can anticipate these shocks, bounce back, and keep producing. It's about being ready before the disaster hits. And this isn't just some nice idea on paper. Back in 2019, the government launched a CRA program. It started as a pilot in just 8 districts, but it worked so well that they've now rolled it out to all 38. That's a huge statewide bet on a new way of doing things. So what does this new toolkit for resilience actually look like on the ground? Well, this is where it gets really cool. It's this incredible mix of ancient wisdom and super modern tech. First, let's go way back. They're bringing back this ingenious, centuries-old system called a harpine. It's brilliant in its simplicity. You use channels, the pines, to guide floodwater away from fields and into these big retention ponds, the ahars. See what it does? It solves both problems at once, gets rid of excess water during floods, and stores it for the droughts. Genius. Okay, now let's jump to the 21st century. That ancient wisdom is getting a serious high-tech upgrade. We're talking about using ISRO satellites to map floods from space, drones flying over to check on embankments, and maybe the most important part, mobile apps like Indra that send flood alerts directly to people's phones, and better collaboration with Nepal to get warnings before the water even crosses the border. So this table kind of sums it all up nicely. The strategy has 2 parts. On one side, you've got the structural stuff, the hard infrastructure, like building embankments and dams. But just as crucial is the other side, the non-structural measures. Things like flood forecasting, disaster plans, and really importantly, training the communities themselves. You have to build strong walls, But you also have to build strong, prepared communities. And this stuff has real, measurable benefits. Check this out. One study found that when communities got early warnings, their spending on flood-related sickness dropped by over 35%. Just getting a heads up gives people time to move, to protect their water, to save their assets. It directly saves money and, more importantly, prevents a ton of suffering. So when you pull all these threads together, the new policies, this blend of old and new tech, this focus on people, what does the future hold? Could this be the start of a whole new kind of revolution for Bihar? Because when it comes right down to it, this is all about people. The real goal here is to empower the small farmers, the women who are on the absolute front lines of this climate fight. It's about giving them a fighting chance in a future where the floods might be worse and the droughts even longer. And that brings us to our final big question. The first green revolution was all about boosting crop yields. But maybe for a place like Bihar facing these incredible challenges, the next big leap forward isn't just about growing more, it's about growing stronger. Could building resilience be Bihar's next green revolution?